Okay, so in the last session, we created the manual snapshots. Also, we have seen how to configure an automated snapshot. If you recollect, we configured automated snapshots. Give me a second. Okay, so here is the thing. This is the one which we use to create our automated snapshots. Like every day at 6:30 a.m., retention period is going to be the 30 days. And how many EBS volumes you might have in your AWS account, that doesn't matter. Whatever the volumes are having a tag called backup yes will be configured for automated snapshots. So yesterday we created like evening 7:30 p.m., right? And the configuration to create automated snapshot is 6:30 a.m. Means this morning, like today morning at 6:30 a.m., out of 7 EBS volumes, we have a 2 EBS volumes with a tag called backup yes. So those 2 EBS volumes must be created with automated snapshot. So let us verify that first, and then we can move on with the other features available on this EBS. So what we do first, let us log into the AWS account and then navigate to EC2 service. And on the left side, click on snapshots. How many snapshots are there? 3 snapshots. But not all these 3 are automated snapshots. Whenever there is an automated snapshot, you can see a description that snapshot is created for a policy called so and so lifecycle policy. So here you can see there are 2 automated snapshots available out of 7 EBS volumes. Why? Because only 2 EBS volumes we are having what we call that the tag called backup yes. That's why only those 2 EBS volumes were configured for automated snapshots on a daily basis. This is how you can verify. And the next component or next feature what we have to cover in the EBS is EBS volume management. EBS volume management. What is this volume management? You can say in a simple words, managing the volume, managing the EBS volume. That's what we can understand based on the name. But what type of management? So here, let us say we created the 1 GB volume, right? We already having a 1 GB volume. Assume this is the 1 GB volume, which is attached to an EC2 instance, which is attached to EC2 instance. I will say server 1. After a few days, this is a D drive. This is a assume this is a D drive. Already it has a C drive with a 30 GB, D drive has a 1 GB, in which I'm going to store some data, and the data has to be maintained for 1 year, 2 years. That depends, right? After a few days or after a few months, this 1 GB storage might exhaust, like we will run out of free disk space. Then what is the option? You might suggest, okay, just create another EBS volume and attach it, right? But it becomes a D drive. It becomes a D drive. This is not my requirement. My requirement is to use the same D drive for all my data to be available. So in that case, what we have to do is we can do a volume management just to increase the size of the volume. Assume this is a GP2 type. Under this volume management, we can increase the capacity of the EBS volume from lower storage space to higher, like from 1 GB to let us say 5 GB I can do. There is a one case. The second one, you can change the type of the EBS volume from any volume type to any volume type. There are no restrictions. There are no restrictions. You can change the type of the volume from any volume to any volume. But coming to the size of the volume, there is a restriction that you can increase the size of the volume. You can increase the size of the volume, but cannot reduce the size of the volume. What does that mean? From 1 GB to you can increase like 10 GB and so on. This is possible, but you cannot reduce a 20 GB volume to a 10 GB size of the volume. This is not possible. Under the volume management, you can increase the size of the volume. You can, but you cannot reduce the size of the volume. But coming to the type of the volume, you can change the volume type from any type to any type. So I can say volume management allows us to manage the size or the type of the EBS volumes. If you want to change the size or manage the type of the EBS volume, that is possible with the help of the volume management. So here we can increase the size of the EBS volume without losing any data. That is the most important thing. Without any data loss. So we can increase the size of the EBS volume, but we cannot reduce the size of the EBS volume. What is the meaning of that? We can increase the 1 GB volume to 5 GB. It is possible, but you cannot reduce a 5 GB volume to any size which is less than the current volume size, which is not possible. And we can change the type of the EBS volume from any type to any type of the volume. So here, no restrictions. That means you cannot change the type from SSD to HDD, or you can't change from HDD to SSD. There are no such restrictions. But there is one restriction that we can manage, or I can say we cannot modify the volume twice in a 6-hour window. We cannot modify the volume. We cannot modify the volume twice in a 6-hour window. What does that mean? Let us say if I modify the volume at 7 p.m. today, like increase it the size, I cannot modify the same volume again within the next I mean, if I want to modify the same volume again, I have to wait 6 hours. 7 plus 6, 13, which is 1 a.m. Before 1 a.m., I cannot modify the same volume again and again. You have to wait at least 6 hours to modify the volume again. That is a simple thing that we can check practically. No need to worry. Okay. Now, what we do is modify the volume size. Modify the volume size from 1 GB to 2 GB and observe that there is no data loss. There is no data loss. So, okay, now how we have to do? So here, what exactly we are going to do is, we are going to increase the size of the 1 GB volume by 1 more GB. Means to the existing 1 GB, we are going to add 1 more GB. We are going to add 1 more GB. So here, this is already used volume, right? The volume which we are using, storage space which we are using, it is having an NTFS file system because we are using a Windows machines. But whenever you add an additional space, that is going to be a raw space which can't be used. Which can't be used means it doesn't have any file system. So you need to create a file system on the added extra storage space. So here there are two different options. One is, this is the partition one, right? You can create this as a partition two. That is the first option, means this additional 1 GB will become E drive. If that is not your requirement, then you can extend the current 1 GB volume and you can form a 2 GB single partition as a D drive. Okay, so let me show you. This is the current 1 GB volume, right? This is current 1 GB volume, which is having already NTFS file system, in which we have, I think, a 10 files available. Now, we are going to increase this by 1 more GB. We are increasing this by 1 more GB. At this point, what exactly happens? This is 1 GB storage, and we call it as unallocated. Unallocated space. So what we can do, we are going to combine these two, which will forms the 2 GB single partition. Simple thing, in the olden days, whenever you purchase a 1 terabyte hard disk, what we have done that we created the 1 terabyte into C drive, 200 GB, D drive, 400 GB, E drive, again 400 GB, F drive, 100 GB, right? One is for operating system, one is for videos, the other one is for audio, the other one is for like images, right? But nowadays, every laptop is coming with single partition. But you can split that into two partitions, means physical hard disk is the same, but you can divide into multiple things. That's your requirement. But in such cases, my application might require a single partition, not the other two different partitions. So we can extend. We call it as extend. The process is called as extend, to combine the existing 1 GB with the newly added 1 more GB, which is unallocated space. So this thing will be merged together. It will be merged together to create the same existing file system on the newly added 1 GB storage space. This is what we are going to perform now. So what are the things? This is not a single step. We have to do multiple phases. One is modify the 1 GB volume and set the size as 2 GB. But still the 2 GB is not usable. Here, the additional 1 GB is unallocated space. So here I will write down as a note point that newly added 1 GB is unallocated space, unallocated storage. So what we have to do, log into the Windows server to which the volume is attached and extend the existing 1 GB volume using the newly added 1 GB unallocated storage to form 2 GB single partition. And then observe that there is no data loss. That is the most important thing. If there is a data loss, no one will use that particular feature, right? Okay, so first let me log into our AWS account. This is our AWS account. EBS is a part of EC2 service. So navigate to EC2. Here you can see volumes under Elastic Block Store. Let me select the 1 GB volume. You can see 1 GB dash GP2 dash 1B, which is attached to server 2. So here, click on Actions, Modify Volume. So this 1 GB, I will set to 2 GB and click on Modify and Modify. That's it. Done. Just let me do a quick refresh here. Can you see that becomes 2 GB? And if I scroll again, if I scroll aside, you can see optimizing. Optimizing means we got like 1 GB extra. So definitely you will get some extra performance in terms of IOPS and all, right. They are getting optimized in the backend. During this time also, you can use that particular storage without any restrictions. And this is attached to which EC2 instance? Let me check server 2, right? Let us log into server 2. This is server 2 details. Let me open remote desktop protocol 13.221.192.12. There is a public IP address. Let me enter the password. Let me log in. Yes. So already 1 GB drive is attached as a D drive, and we increased the size of that 1 GB EBS volume. So now if I open the Explorer and just let me do a refresh, still I can see 1 GB, not the 2 GB. Why? Because the extra 1 GB which we added to the EBS volume is unallocated space. How to verify? Just go to run prompt, and open disk mgmt.msc, which is a disk management. So can you see that 1 GB on the same disk called disk 1? But if I create a new volume, that will become disk 2 and a new extra hard disk, not the existing hard disk. You can see 1 GB unallocated. And here this 1 GB is the existing one, which is NTFS file system. If I right click on the unallocated new simple volume, then what happens? The extra 1 GB will become an E drive. That has become an extra drive, extra partition or drive on your computer. So I want to merge these two together so that it will form 1 GB plus 1 GB as a 2 GB. How to do that? Just right click on the healthy partition or the partition which you would like to increase. But there is a rule. That means this unallocated space must be on the right side of the partition which you would like to increase. So I want to increase the size of this partition, and the unallocated space is on the right side. No worries. Right click. There is an option called extend volume. Can you see it? Extend volume. Next. Just next. Finish. That's it. What happened? Those two are merged together, which forms a 2 GB NTFS file system. But the important thing is we need to confirm that there is no data loss. Can you see 1.99 GB? If I open, I can see all the 10 files. There is no data loss, right? Okay, now let's see how to change the type of the volume. Change the type of the EBS volume from IO1 to GP3. IO1 to GP3. Let us see. So just go to the EBS volumes. Let me identify where is the IO1 volume. So here it is, right? This is the one, IO1 4GB. Actions, modify volume. So here, this one, select GP3. What happened? What happened here? Let me cancel. Let me show you. Actions, modify volume. What is the current thing? Current size of 4 GB, and 100 IOPS, right? Okay. But in the GP3, the minimum IOPS are 3000. Let me show you. If I say GP3, I'm getting an error that IOPS must be between 3000 and 3000 because 3000 is the minimum. What exactly I'm doing? I'm changing the volume type, and at the same time, I'm changing the IOPS also, which means you can change the size also. You can modify each parameter individually, or you can change all the parameters together. Modify, modify. See here, done. The 4 GB volume, this one, size got increased to 5 GB. IOPS got increased to 3000 from 100, and type has been changed from IO1 to GP3. Okay, now I would like to change the wall, I can say modify the volume again, and observe that there is a restriction to wait for at least 6 hours. At least for 6 hours. So here we have a volume which already we modified once, right? Just few minutes back. Let me try to modify the same volume again. Actions. This is the one, right? Actions. Modify volume. Let me increase the size. Modify. Modify. What is the error? Modify volume request failed for volume. You have reached the maximum modification rate per volume limit. Wait at least 6 hours between modifications per EBS volume, because this EBS volume was just modified like few minutes back, and you cannot modify the volume again within that 6 hours window. You have to wait for at least 6 hours. You might say, okay, we changed the volume size, and again we are changing the volume size. That's why we are getting the error. Why don't we try to change the volume type? Let us try that also. So here, modification, it can be IOPS, it can be type, or it can be size. Once you modify the volume, you cannot modify the same volume again for the next 6 hours. Okay, right. So are you guys clear, or any questions on this EBS, like whatever we covered as of? Anyone having any questions? Not only on the volume management, if you have any questions on the entire EBS, EC2, or IAM, just feel free to ask me so that I can take up those questions and we can discuss. Okay, so I'm not getting any questions. So I hope I will consider that as no questions as of now. But if you're doing the practicals, definitely you should get some questions, some doubts or something. Okay, so let us check the cleanup, because in the real time for the production purpose we don't delete whatever we created unless there is a request. But this is a different case, right? We are using these accounts and all for learning purpose. So keeping the volume snapshots might affect some extra charges on your account. So let us clean up all EBS and EC2 resources, because IO1, IO2, they are not free tier, they are chargeable. Okay, so they are chargeable, they are not free things, IO1, IO2, ST1, SC1. So definitely you will get a charge for that. So I created, right? It's been 3 days or so. Definitely I will get some charge. We'll show you that also, like how to read the bill. By any chance, if you got the bill, how to identify for what service we got the bill and all. Like, let me clean up this. Definitely we will have some extra time, right? It's been just 30 minutes. If nobody have any questions, then I can show you like how to read the bill, for what services we were charged, everything I will show you. So first clean up thing, right? Okay, so here how many volumes we have? 7 volumes. Out of 7 volumes, here you can see for 4 volumes, the status is in use, right? The status is in use. So you need to you need to observe carefully so that you will learn some new thing. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all these 7 volumes, select all 7 volumes, actions. Can you see delete? No, right? There is no delete option. Okay, now I will select, uh, okay, but now I'm getting the delete option. Why? Earlier, I selected 7 volumes, but I did not get delete option. But now I selected 3 volumes, and I am getting the delete option. Why? Any guess? Any wild guess for that? So I am getting the delete option for these 3 volumes. 1, 2, 3. Volume state is available, which means if any volume is if any volume is attached to the EC2 instance, you cannot delete those EBS volumes. That's a simple thing. Okay, let me try to delete volume. So it is asking me for delete. Okay, they got deleted. So these 4 volumes are already attached to the EC2 instances. How to check? If the volume state is in use, if the volume state is in use means the volume is attached to EC2 instances. You can see 2 volumes are on server 1, 2 volumes are on server 2. This is a root volume. This is a root volume. The one which starts with /dev, that is the root volume. So here, for each EC2 instance, there is one root volume and one EBS volume, extra volume. Now the question is, what will happen if I delete the EC2 instances? All these volumes or all the volumes associated or attached with those two EC2 instances will be deleted or not. Let us verify that. So whenever you're doing something, you need to observe all the things. Don't do it blindly. Okay. So select those two EC2. Okay, let me show you in a more practical way, just to understand it more easily. Even while you're doing the practical, just write down on a paper like what exactly you are doing and all. Okay, this is a server 1 and here it is a server 2. And here it is having 2 volumes, 30 GB and 1 GB. Here also it is having 2 volumes, 30 GB and 2 GB. And this is root volume, and this is also root volume, right? And this is EBS volume, and this is also the EBS volume. EBS volume is like kind of additional volume. Additional volume. EBS volume is something like additional volume, not the root volume. What is the difference between the root volume and the additional volumes? In the root volume, operating system will be installed. In the EBS volume, softwares, data, anything you can store. Except operating system, you can keep anything on the additional drives. Okay, right. So now if I terminate this EC2 instance, what happened to these two EBS volumes, these two volumes? So here, root volumes will be automatically deleted and the additional volumes will kept in your AWS account. That is what we are going to observe. Select both EC2 instances, instance state, terminate. Okay, see here, clean up associated resources. So at least once, just read everything, whatever you can see on the screen while doing the practical. Associated resources may incur cost after these instances are terminated. What is the first one? Delete EBS volumes. EBS volumes which do not have delete on termination set to true will persist after this instance is terminated. So by default, the delete on termination will be set to false for EBS volumes. For root volumes, that is set to true. We will verify that also. Terminate. Let us wait until the EC2 instance has got deleted. Then we'll verify what happens to the additional two EBS volumes. We need to confirm that they still exist. So we need to delete them manually. Okay, so now the instance state status is terminated, right? So here I can go to volumes. Just let me do a quick refresh here. What happens? The root volumes got deleted, but the additional volumes still exist on your account. So they will be charged. So I will select both the volumes and what is the state available, because there is no EC2 instance to which these volumes were attached. Let me click on actions, delete volume and confirmation type delete and done. But still we are not on the safe side, because if I go to snapshots, I can see 3 snapshots. These 3 snapshots will consume some space, right? Select all snapshots, actions, delete a snapshot and type delete. So you have to remember that whatever you have created during your practice, and you must delete everything. Okay, then I go to AMIs. It seems no AMIs available, but if you have any AMIs, just you can deregister and then delete the associated snapshot. Okay, right. So before getting into the other things, if you guys have any questions on EC2 or EBS, just let me know. If you guys are clear, then I will show you how to read the pricing and all the things. Okay, it seems no questions. Let me show you how to read a bill for your AWS account. It is not yet the Monday, sorry, it is not yet the end of the month. So you will not get final bill, but we can see some estimation. You can see some estimation. So how to check that? You can search for billing in the search box. There is something called billing and cost management. Go to that billing and cost management service. Okay, so here you can see summary. This is not exactly the bill summary. Month to date cost means on this account, today is 23rd, right? In these 23 days, there is a bill of $31 in this month. But in the previous month, from August 1st to 23rd, the bill is just $17.98. And based on the usage, like whatever I have used for these 23 days, based on the usage, they forecasted by end of the month, I might get $32.70 because once I identified the cost and then I deleted a lot of things, lot of paid things. Okay, how to identify? On the left side, you can see under billing and payments, click on the bill, click on the bills. And here, what is the billing period? September 2025. You can see in the orange color, right? Means it is not the final bill. It is just an estimated bill summary. AWS estimated bill summary, billing period, bill status is pending. Bill is not yet generated. Okay. So here you can see there are total 8 active services. I mean, we should know, right? For what service we got the bill. 8 services. And you can see there is something called directory service for which I was charged $23 out of $26.34. Total charges are $26. Out of the 26, the total bill is total bill of a particular single service called directory service is $23. Actually, that is a free trial service, which is free for 60 days. I think in the month of July or so, for a POC concept, for a POC, I created this directory service and I forgot to delete it. After 60 days, it's they started billing me. Like, let me show you. If I click, but we should know, right? This is in which region? Without knowing the region in which it is running, I can't check all the 42 regions or so. So if you click on this plus, you can see it is in Hyderabad region, and they are charging me 0.0630 per hour. Per hour, they are charging me $0.06. And I have used it for 365 hours. Let me open a calculator. So what is the total? 365.4 hours divided by 24, which means I have used it for 15 days. For that 15 days, the bill is $23.02. And then there is another service called Elastic Compute Cloud, for which I was charged $1.72. Then definitely we'll get a question. Okay, so we are using EC2, EBS and all. Yeah, am I getting charges? No, not really. Let me show you. In the Northern Virginia region, I got a bill. In the Hyderabad, there is no bill. In the Northern Virginia, I got a bill of for T2.micro instances, 196.55 hours because I exceeded the free tier limit. There is a limit called 750 hours per month. If I exceed that 750 hours per month, definitely I will get the charge. Then see here EBS GP3 $0. I said it is a free, right? And ST1, I said it is not a free. I was charged $0.76 for these 2 days or 3 days. And then IOPS are definitely not free. It is $0.88. IO1, right? IO1 is not a free, 0.07. That's why I asked you to create GP2, GP3, that's it, or a standard, because they are free tier. And in the Northern California, there is a bill of 0.01. That is, I guess, because we copied the AMI from Northern California to Hyderabad. Let me show you. No, not for that. It seems for T3.large. During the vertical scaling, like how to change the size of the EC2 instance, I change it from what we call the T3.micro to T3.large. And I have used it for 0.101 hours. For that, I was charged $0.01. So here for T2.micro instances, it is a free, there is no charge. And the EBS, all are free because up to 30 GB per month is a free. Route 53, that's a different concept we haven't covered. There is a hosted zone, and for that Route 53, I was charged for hosted zones. I have a 2 hosted zones, and I was charged $50 per hosted zone per month. And VPC, see here what all for what services I was charged. Public IP address. Public IP address. Okay. In the VPC, there is a charges, and here you can see data transfer, Northern California to Asia Pacific Hyderabad. For that charges, for copying 0.6 GB of data, I was charged 0.01. This is how you have to verify, and you need to delete unnecessary things. CloudFront, free of cost. See here, CloudFront, there are multiple regions I have used, free of cost. KMS, almost free. S3, which is also free, I was not charged. This is how you can verify the bills. If you want to check the previous month bill, or let us say July month bill, $25. If you want to know like for what service I was charged, FSX. If you remember, I did a POC in the month of July using FSX and directory service. Directory service is a free for 60 days, right? So I was not charged the money. And here for FSX, I was charged for using these things. Or if I go for something like not July, let's go for April. It is just $1.23 in the month of April. For what service I was charged out of 1.04, Route 53 for having a two hosted zones, I was charged $1. What about the 0.04 in the VPC? For public IP address, I was charged $0.04 and tax is 0.19. Total 1.23. That's how you can verify, or you can go with January 2025. Definitely, there should be no bill. It is just 0.59. What might be that? Route 53 is a 0.50 and 0.09 is the tax on the $0.5. This is how you can verify. Or but I don't have multiple accounts. But if you have a multiple accounts, then you can see like you can combine all the things together also. Like if your company is having four different AWS accounts, there is a concept called AWS organizations. And under a single organization, you can add all the AWS accounts together, and you will get all the bills to all the monthly bills together. Easy management, easy maintenance, and all the things. That's also we will see at the end. What is AWS organizations, and how can we add the multiple AWS accounts under AWS organizations concept, right? All the things we will see. Okay. And in the same billing and cost management, under cost and usage analysis, there is an option called free tier, right? If I click on the free tier, you will see the free tier usage limits. Let me show you. I clicked on the free tier. Okay. See here in the VPC, what is happening? Okay, there is some public IP address, in-use address, 750 hours are free, and forecasted usage means by end of the month, I might use 978 hours. So there might be a possibility of charges. You can see, right? Current usage is 645 hours. Current usage is 645 hours. And here EC2 storage, 30 GB is a free, right? I have used 20 GB till now. Based on the same utilization, by end of the month, they forecasted that I might use up to 27 GB, which is within the free tier limit. See here, month to date actual usage, month to date forecasted usage. Whenever you see something more than 100% means you are about to exceed the free tier limit. For every service, you can see whether you are within the free tier limit or not and all the things. Okay. All right. So yeah, any other questions? Anybody having any questions on any topic what we covered so far?